Welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, November 2nd, 2015. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. It was a busy day for Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who arrived here on Sunday, November 1st on an official visit which ended this afternoon around 4:30 p.m. with his departure. President Maduro arrived at the E.T. Joshua Airport around 5 p.m. on Sunday, accompanied by his wife Celia Flores, as well as Foreign Affairs Minister Delcy Rodriguez, among other Venezuelan ministers, security detail, and media representatives from the Spanish-speaking country. The delegation was greeted by Deputy Governor General Susan Duggan, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves and his wife Eloise Gonsalves, and Minister of Foreign Affairs Camila Gonsalves, as well as other government ministers and officials.
Este mar Caribe nuestro.
In our Caribbean Sea.
Mar Caribe que ha retomado los sueños de justicia, de igualdad, de libertad, San Vicente y las Granadinas, y está recorriendo la ruta que construyó el comandante Chávez. Estamos en el camino de Chávez, siempre, el camino de la construcción de una patria grande, la patria Caribe, Caribe lleno de estabilidad.
And around 9 a.m. today, the visiting delegation toured the Hugo Chavez fuel station, storage and distribution plant at Lomans Bay. This was followed by a visit to the Argyle International Airport around 10:30 a.m., following which a media briefing was held. Early this afternoon, a bilateral meeting was held between President Maduro and Prime Minister Gonsalves, followed by lunch at the residence of the Prime Minister. At the media briefing held at the Argyle International Airport Terminal building, President Maduro pushed the case for developing a Caribbean that is strengthened by economic unity.
The purpose of the visit is because in all these work visits we want to finally put in practice this idea of creating a very powerful and efficient economic zone of the Caribbean.
¿Tenemos con qué?
And we have the means to achieve this.
Es necesario hacerlo.
We have to do it.
Y queremos hacerlo.
And we want to do it.
¿Qué nos falta?
What is missing?
Hacerlo.
Just to do it.
Construirlo.
To build it.
He promised continued assistance to the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, announcing 7,500 laptops for primary school students, 50 homes he termed as Petrocasas, and strengthening ties in education and trade.
Let's also announce that in the framework of the agreement of ALBA, there will be a donation to St. Vincent and the Grenadines of 7,500 tablets for primary school. These tablets have been manufactured in Venezuela and they will be soon getting here. They are very modern, very robust, so for the children of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves told the visiting president on his visit to the international airport site that the project is an indication of triumph. Dr. Gonsalves says countries such as Taiwan, Cuba, and Venezuela need to be thanked for their contribution towards the construction of the air facility, and says that Venezuela has been a generous partner, not only with their monies but also human and other resources. The Prime Minister pointed out that this was the third official state visit by a leader from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, with the late President Hugo Chavez in 2001, then in 2007, and now President Maduro in 2015. Dr. Gonsalves says there were many naysayers, but with solidarity from countries such as Venezuela, this country and its airport will triumph.
Europe said no assistance.
Europa dijo que no te vamos a asistir.
The Prime Minister of Canada, I wrote him, no assistance.
Canadá dijo que tampoco podemos contribuir.
The Americans, I spoke to them, no assistance.
Hablé con los americanos, lo mismo, no podían ayudar.
But Fidel said yes.
Pero Fidel dijo que sí.
Chavez said yes.
Chavez dijo que sí.
And what it shows
¿Y qué ha demostrado?
Is that even in the most difficult circumstances,
Que las circunstancias más difíciles,
internationalist solidarity among friends
la solidaridad internacional entre amigos
will always triumph.
siempre va a triunfar.
That's a lesson of this airport.
Es una lección de
St. Vincent and the Grenadines donates 7,000 tissue culture Dachine and Tanya plantlets to Dominica in hopes of assisting the country's agriculture sector recover after Tropical Storm Erica devastated the island's agriculture sector. At the handing over ceremony, SVG's Agriculture Minister Sabota Cecil says that the agriculture sector and the government as a whole is willing to help Dominica recover by all means, and that it is very important to do so because this shows solidarity. He noted that every Caribbean island is strongest when the region works together.
And I really want to wish the farmers in Dominica all the very best as they recover. I know that they would have suffered significantly in terms of the deaths, many of the farming communities, landslides, many farmers would have lost their assets. And St. Vincent and the Grenadines reached out very early to Dominica, offering to the traffickers of Dominica the opportunity to come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to purchase their produce so that they can maintain their markets. Because what we do not want is that the traffickers in Dominica not being able to get the quantities that they would have had on a regular basis to send to their markets, they being out of pocket for a while, not being able to service their debts as traffickers. And when there's a rebound in the agriculture sector, they are not in a position to continue their trade. So St. Vincent and the Grenadines made that offer, and we are still discussing as to how it is going to roll out.
The Agriculture Minister also praised the work being done at the Tissue Culture Lab and further announced plans for putting the lab up for investments. As part of the Caribbean Single Market and Economy CSME initiative to make youngsters more knowledgeable about the Caribbean, the CSME Secretariat conducted its second phase of youth exchange with Jamaican students coming to this country. The students will assess documents and function in sectors and conduct reports on their findings. Some 19 students from this country were exchange students to St. Kitts, where they spent 2 weeks conducting similar activities. CSME Representative Joel Richards called on the students to learn as much as they can, as the lessons learned will be applied to real-life situations.
This activity is part of the CARICOM Secretariat's Public Activity and Public Education Program, which has been endorsed over the years by all member states. It is understood that in order for stakeholder buy-in to be achieved for any initiative, such as the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, significant effort must be made to show the benefits of the arrangements in a tangible manner. And I'll give you an example. I am from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I studied in Jamaica. I have been living in Barbados and working there for the past 8 years, and that's really what we want to do with respect to the CSME.
The focal point person for Jamaica, Alicia Morris, says her team of close to 20 students is looking forward to learning experience under the exchange program.
It's a pleasure for us all from Jamaica to be here. As you have heard, there are students here from 4 tertiary level institutions in Jamaica. We have our CARICOM Youth Ambassador and Dr. Faye Williams, our lecturer, accompanying the group. As mentioned before, our visit here to St. Vincent and the Grenadines is part of the CARICOM Public Education Program, which is aimed at exposing and sensitizing tertiary level students to see firsthand of how the CSME operates, as well as to get an idea of what opportunities there are within the region to work, live and travel.
Vincentian-born international recording artist Kevin Lyttle was not able to keep his commitment to the Vincentian public in performing at the benefit concert held last evening at the Victoria Park due to a mix-up with his travel arrangements. On Sunday afternoon, hours before Lyttle was slated to perform, he posted a video on social media stating that he is unable to be in St. Vincent because his flight was not booked.
It seems that the travel agency found it much more important to book everybody else's flight except mine. And I'm stuck here right now. I find it to be very unprofessional, unacceptable, and it's seeming somewhat deliberate.
Dr. Jacqueline James Lyttle, the CEO of Tarragon Records, posted a statement on social media stating that Lyttle deserves an apology. She said despite several attempts made by his team and herself, the travel arrangements were not fulfilled, noting that they were led to believe that the flight was being booked but never received confirmation of such. James Lyttle says she is extremely disappointed in the way her husband's travel arrangements were handled, and even more frustrated that once again it may appear to the artist's fans and country as though he does not care. When SVG-TV News contacted the travel agency in which Lyttle's management team said they were in contact, we were told by a member of the management team they wish not to comment on the matter. The opposition New Democratic Party made a promise to party supporters on Saturday night in Calico to transform the health sector of SVG with the construction of a state-of-the-art $75 million hospital in the East St. George constituency. As he unveiled the model plan for the new hospital, West Kingstown candidate for the NDP Daniel Cummings said that the party has done extensive research and the hospital will not be a fly-by-night project, since they are already aware of its important role in improving the health sector of the country and the work that it entails. Cummings says that after the hospital is built, the NDP will provide all Vincentians with universal access to health care.
When we fix Milton Cato in its operation, and when we get all the clinics organized, when we have medicines coming into this country, then we're going to give you. What we're going to give you? We're going to give you a brand new facility. And it's going to be in this very constituency that we are hearing tonight. Dr. Linton Lewis will have the pleasure of being present. He may not cut the ribbon. He may not cut the ribbon. I want you to turn your attention now, ladies and gentlemen, to the two screens.
And the leader of the opposition, NDP Arnhim Eustace, outlined how his party plans to gain funds for the $75 million hospital project, including engaging multilateral organizations, particularly the EU.
From where we expect to get the bulk of the financing for the hospital. The European Union has a rich history. They assisted in Milton Cato and Moreland, same European Union. They have a rich history of assisting in the development of healthcare sector in the Caribbean. And we have already identified special programs through a mixture of grants and soft loans that will help finance this significant project. We will also work through agencies such as the Pan American Health Organization to provide technical and other assistance in setting up the hospital. We will also engage friendly governments in the Caribbean and Latin America. This outgoing government.
The opposition leader also told the gathering that it is time for a change of government in order to ensure the betterment of SVG.
Has spent 14 years in office and has never seen it fit to put its energies into healthcare. Well, we are telling you tonight that the New Democratic Party will do that. It's not often you see in politics a rally like this, which is discussing healthcare for the people. I don't know of any other case in the Caribbean where we have a rally like this to deal with the question of healthcare. Name one country that is doing that. I am sure you won't find it. But we are concerned about it. We have seen the difficulties that people face. You know, Debbie, who spoke a while ago, who had a foot amputated, she is from my constituency. I know her well.
Also on Saturday, the NDP's candidate for East St. George, Dr. Linton Lewis, held the official launch of his constituency office in Caliacor. During his address to party supporters at the NDP rally on the Plainfield, Dr. Lewis made reference to the Lewis Punnett Home for the Aged and the Mental Health Institution, noting that it is clear that the ULP administration has failed to implement working healthcare plans to effectively manage and look after the well-being of the poor and the elderly. He stated that his constituency welcomes the construction of the hospital, adding that East St. George is nicely poised and positioned to have a modern state-of-the-art hospital, which will change the health sector of SVG forever.
The mental institution, the mental health center, was there for a very long time after one of the wings was burnt out. Again, I had to ask a question in the House of Parliament for there to be any movement with respect to the renovation of the mental institution. So you see, we have in East St. George the Lewis Punnett Home that looks after the old people, the elderly people, those who are most unfortunate and have no one to look after them. We have also the mental institution in the Villa area that looks after people who have a problem with their mental health. And I can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, that tonight you will see the unveiling of a new state-of-the-art modern hospital that will be built in East St. George.
Dr. Lewis further urged party supporters not to get misled by the idea of Labour love.
Because we know, ask yourself this question: how could a stranger love you? How could a stranger want to care about you? How could a stranger who does not know you expect you to leave your relative, to leave your friend, to leave your teacher, to leave your colleague, to leave your classmate and go and vote for him? That is not going to happen in St. George. No money, no lumber, no cement, no galvanized can make any difference in the constituency of East St. George.
Additionally, he questioned the ULP's ability to come through on their promises for the development of the country, adding that the NDP has always been able to provide action instead of just empty promises.
They are talking about building a state-of-the-art hospital in Arnhim. They are talking about building a city. If you can't repair a road, and you can't give public servants 1 month's salary, how on earth are you going to build a city in Arnhim? Do you hear government building cities? Did government build Kingstown? And they are number 5 the people who build buildings in Kingstown? So are you listen to the foolishness from the Unity Labour Party? All of a sudden, a state-of-the-art hospitals with 12 theatres. Tonight, we give you the truth. Tonight, we bring you the love and the care and the concern. Tonight, you will see before your very eyes that our words are well-meaning.
The Fiery Proof Women's Ministry last Saturday hosted the official launch of the book Fiery Proof Woman at the French's House in collaboration with the Adams Church of the Nazarene. Author of the novel and the founder of the Fiery Proof Women's Ministry, Karen James, noted that women need other women to identify with, which she says led to the birth of her foundation. According to James, an interactive ministry where women of God all around the Caribbean who have been through difficult times can share their testimonies and inspire other women who may encounter similar challenges. James said that her book provides inspiration through her testimonies to women who need an extra dose of motivation.
So I've talked about some of my insecurities, low self-esteem, feeling that I no longer wanted to exist in this world as a young woman. I've talked about being a broken woman, looking for wholeness. Yes, I was a Christian, but I found it in another broken Christian man. Each of our life, there and family, there are something that follows us. I talked about that shadow that hung over my family and how I was able to break that.
Here's what James had to say about what readers can expect from reading the book.
And so, for everyone who has read Fiery Proof Woman, have cried, have laughed, have smoked, I think that you would find it doesn't matter what you're going through, that you would be able to identify with the testimonies in Fiery Proof Woman. And after you've read this book, you're not going to ask, what was she trying to say? Because I am as clear as crystal. I denied myself the privacy so that I can touch lives and identify with women.
Motivational speaker Pastor Cecil Richards says one of the issues that affects women today is their reluctance to be determined and or gritty in saying this ends now. He said that women tend to stay in situations that are not pleasing with no motivation to leave. Sharing a biblical story from the book of Mark, Richards outlined that many situations persons go through are reoccurring, making persons feel alone as they somehow become isolated. He noted that these experiences can lead individuals to give up hope.
And a lot of the struggles of women is not so much that it is that there's not significant amount of peer group or community groups that support our women to fight through their issues. Women often have to fight issues on their own. She knew that in order to progress to her healing, she had to face the possibility of shame. And I tell you this is the truth. A lot of women would rather back up because they don't feel shame and not do what they want to do. You have to face the possibility of being put to shame. You understand what I'm saying here, ladies? I mean, people will talk to you, but it's your healing. People will say about what she break up, but it's your healing. People will say about what she going through, but it's your healing.
Pastor Richards said that women must take a stand for themselves and end situations which hinder their development, noting that true acceptance comes from the Lord. He further said that in order to take control of these issues, women must learn to cast all their troubles onto Christ.
You all as ladies can take the risk to transfer your stuff to Jesus because he is a burden bearer. She was so free, she was so complete because she cast all on Christ. What is my message? What is my motivational message to the woman? I pray that whether it's as a result of this message or as a result of reading that book, that something will move in you and that you would say to whatever issue you have in your life that I am going to be a woman like that. You hear me? That you're going to be a woman like that. You can be a woman like Karen. You can be a woman like those who have stood up one morning and said, this ends now. It is over now.
The police have launched an investigation into the stabbing death of Christopher Rouse, a 27-year-old laborer of Glen. A report from the police states that on Sunday, November 1st, 2015, Rouse walked to the Glen mobile station at approximately 4:30 a.m. and reported to police officers there that he was involved in an altercation with another man who had stabbed him to the left side of his neck. He reportedly collapsed at the station and died shortly after making the report. A 49-year-old man was taken into custody and is assisting the police with the investigation. A post-mortem examination will be carried out on the body of the deceased early this week. Rouse's death is recorded as the 23rd homicide for 2015. November 2nd, 2015, Elroy Cruikshank, a 52-year-old resident of Arnhim, succumbed to his injuries at the Milton Cater Memorial Hospital on Sunday, November 1st, 2015, 5 days after he was involved in an accident with a motor vehicle. The police say preliminary investigation claimed that Cruikshank was lying on the sidewalk near to the Mango Tree Bar at Arnhim when motor vehicle P6141 driven by 50-year-old Joham Bunton of Edinburgh, which was traveling towards the Arnhim roundabout, ran off the road and struck Cruikshank. He was taken to the Milton Cater Memorial Hospital with serious injuries. The vehicle is owned by Franklin Galway of Belair. Bunton is in custody assisting the police with the investigation. There have been 13 road accidents this year, resulting in the deaths of 21 persons. Frederick Samuel, a young man of Dorsetshire Hill, has been arrested and charged for the offence of wounding on Jamal Seeley from the same address on October 31st, 2015, during an altercation at a liquor shop in the area. Samuel is said to have taken a bottle and struck Seeley on his forehead, causing an injury which resulted in Seeley being hospitalized. Samuel appeared earlier today at the Serious Offences Court facing the charge. Court prosecutor Adolphus Douglas objected to his bail, stating that the victim's injury is very severe and that doctors are monitoring his condition. He was remanded in custody for 1 week, during which time the prosecution will consider if bail should be granted.